Did you know that Warner Brothers spent over a decade and billions of dollars trying to build their own Marvel Cinematic Universe, only to watch it collapse after just 15 films? While Marvel methodically built their empire over 5 years and 6 films before assembling the Avengers, DC rushed headlong into Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice after just one Superman movie, killing their most iconic hero before audiences even really knew this version of him, dooming the entire DC Extended Universe before it truly began. Today, we're examining how the DCEU became Hollywood's most expensive lesson in chasing someone else's success, and why James Gunn's fresh start might finally get it right. The impossible task: building a universe under pressure. The DCEU's problems began before a single frame was ever shot. In 2012, Christopher Nolan completed the Dark Knight trilogy, leaving Warner Bros. Without a Batman franchise for the first time in decades. Meanwhile, legal complications with Superman meant the studio needed to begin production on a new film by 2011 or risk losing the key rights to the character. Warner Bros. Wasn't just motivated by creative ambition, they were legally obligated to act fast. At the same time, Marvel had done the impossible. Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, and the Avengers proved that interconnected superhero storytelling could generate billions of dollars and dominate pop culture. Warner Bros. Executives watched Marvel make money with what they considered second-tier characters, while their marquee heroes like Superman and Batman sat on the sidelines. The studio that had pioneered superhero cinema with Richard Donner's Superman and Tim Burton's Batman suddenly found themselves playing catch-up with characters they'd once dismissed as unmarketable. The decision to hire Zack Snyder to direct Man of Steel in October 2010 made sense on paper. Snyder had successfully adapted stylized comic material with 300 and Watchmen, and Christopher Nolan's involvement as a producer added credibility. The plan wasn't to mirror Marvel's patient world-building, it was to go bigger, faster, and darker immediately. What Man of Steel got right, and what it got wrong. When Man of Steel arrived in 2013, it carried the weight of rebooting Superman while laying groundwork for an entire cinematic universe. The film earned $668 million worldwide on a $225 million budget. Solid, but not the breakout hit Warner Bros. Needed. Henry Cavill brought impressive physicality to Clark Kent, and the film's action sequences were technically accomplished, particularly Superman's first flight and the climactic battle in Metropolis. However, Man of Steel made choices that would haunt the DCEU forever. This Superman was brooding, self-serious, and violent in ways that felt fundamentally wrong for the character. The film's destruction of Metropolis evoked disturbing 9/11 imagery, with thousands dying as buildings collapsed. Most controversially, Superman kills General Zod by snapping his neck, a stark departure from a hero defined by his refusal to take life. Snyder later defended this approach, explaining that they gave audiences a hardcore, deconstructionist, heavily layered, experiential, modern mythological superhero movie that required serious attention. The problem was that audiences didn't want homework, they wanted to watch Superman and enjoy Superman being Superman. By the time the credits rolled, viewers had spent 2.5 hours watching Clark Kent struggle with whether he should even be a hero, never getting to see him embrace the role with the hope and optimism that defined the character for nearly a century. The fatal mistake: Batman v Superman rushes everything. Instead of following Man of Steel with a proper sequel that developed Superman's character, Warner Bros. Leaped directly into Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. Released in 2016, this overstuffed film tried to introduce Batman, showcase Wonder Woman, set up the Justice League, kill Superman, and tell a coherent story about these characters coming into conflict. It failed at nearly every one of these goals. The film made $873 million worldwide on a roughly $300 million budget, numbers that sound impressive until you compare them to Captain America: Civil War, which earned $1.15 billion the same year, or The Avengers' $1.5 billion. Critics savaged Batman v Superman, giving it a 29% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, with many pointing to incoherent plotting and oppressive tone. More damaging than any single flaw was the decision to kill Superman. By the time Doomsday struck down the Man of Steel, audiences had known Cavill's Superman for exactly one movie, and about an hour of Batman v Superman. This version of the character had never experienced the joys of heroism, never developed meaningful relationships with other heroes, and never embodied the hope and optimism that makes Superman iconic. Snyder killed Superman as part of his Jesus allegory before letting him actually become Superman, gambling that audiences would stay invested through his resurrection and eventual redemption. This was not just a creative misstep, it was a fundamental misunderstanding of what makes cinematic universes actually work. Marvel succeeded because audiences fell in love with Tony Stark, Steve Rogers, and Thor as individuals before watching them unite. When these heroes faced genuine danger, viewers cared because they'd invested hours getting to know them. The DCEU asked audiences to mourn a Superman they barely knew and anticipate a Justice League of characters they'd only glimpsed in an email attachment. Justice League, when everything falls apart. The rushed approach continued with Justice League, which was supposed to be DC's Avengers moment. Before Zack Snyder could complete filming, tragedy struck when his daughter Autumn died by suicide in early 2017. Snyder, understandably, left the project, and Warner Bros. Brought in Joss Whedon of Avengers fame to finish the film. What followed was a production nightmare that resulted in a Frankenstein creation with 2 directors, 2 tones, and no coherent vision. Whedon reshot over half the movie, transforming Snyder's mythic approach into something resembling a sitcom or an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The final product bombed spectacularly, earning just $657 million worldwide and losing an estimated $60 million for the studio. Behind-the-scenes turmoil became public when Ray Fisher, who played Cyborg, alleged misconduct by Whedon and accused studio executives of enabling it. The investigation that followed destroyed Whedon's career and confirmed what everyone suspected. The DCEU was falling apart. Ben Affleck stepped away from Batman, Henry Cavill's Superman went into limbo, and numerous planned projects were cancelled or indefinitely delayed. The Snyder Cut. Too little, too late. In 2021, 3 years after Justice League's theatrical failure, Warner Bros. Gave Snyder $70 million to complete his original vision. Zack Snyder's Justice League premiered on HBO Max as a 4-hour epic that restored character arcs and dramatically improved on the theatrical version. Critics responded more positively, giving it a 72% rating, and fan engagement was really strong. However, the Snyder Cut arrived far too late to save the DCEU. Warner Bros. Had already greenlit Matt Reeves' standalone Batman film with Robert Pattinson. New studio leadership under Warner Bros. Discovery made clear that the Snyderverse was over, despite passionate fan campaigns demanding its continuation. Why Snyder's vision never worked for most audiences. Zack Snyder is a skilled filmmaker who crafts memorable visual sequences. His opening to 300 and Superman's first flight in Man of Steel demonstrate real technical skill. However, his approach to DC's heroes revealed a troubling lack of understanding about what made these characters endure for decades. Snyder's Batman murdered people with guns, directly contradicting the character's defining refusal to kill, stemming from his parents being shot to death. His Superman was a detached god rather than a Kansas farm boy who chose to help people. Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, and Cyborg were barely characters at all in Justice League, serving as action figures rather than fully realized people. The edginess that made Zack Snyder the perfect person to adapt Alan Moore's Watchmen made him a really bad choice for Batman and Superman. The DCEU's final years, scattered successes without cohesion. Following the failure of Justice League, Warner Bros. Largely abandoned the practice of interconnected storytelling in favor of standalone films. Patty Jenkins' Wonder Woman was a genuine hit in 2017, earning $822 million and widespread acclaim by embracing optimism and heroism. James Wan's Aquaman made over $1 billion by leaning into colorful absurdity. However, these successes could not compensate for continued failures like Wonder Woman 1984, which disappointed audiences, or The Flash, which bombed so horribly many people didn't even know what God made, despite being positioned as a soft reboot. The DCEU limped to its conclusion with Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom in 2023, a film that felt like a contractual obligation instead of a creative endeavor. After 10 years, 15 films, and billions of dollars invested, the DCEU ended not with celebration, but with relief that the failed experiment was finally over. James Gunn's DCU, learning from past mistakes. In 2022, Warner Bros. Discovery hired James Gunn and Peter Safran to create a completely new DC universe. Gunn's track record with Guardians of the Galaxy, The Suicide Squad, and Peacemaker demonstrated his ability to balance humor with genuine emotion, while working with obscure characters. His Superman, released in 2025, officially launched the new DCU to strong critical and audience reception. Gunn's approach addresses nearly every mistake that doomed the DCEU. His Superman embraces hope and optimism, taking time during a monster fight to save a squirrel, a scene impossible to imagine in Snyder's grimly serious films. The tone is brighter and more inviting for family audiences, while maintaining emotional depth. More importantly, Gunn is taking his time, allowing audiences to get to know the characters before asking them to care about the ensemble stories. Interestingly, Gunn's Superman includes several established heroes like Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, and Mr. Terrific appearing alongside the Man of Steel, an approach that superficially resembles the DCEU's rush to team-ups. However, crucial differences make this gamble more likely to succeed. Modern audiences understand superhero archetypes well enough that brief exposition can establish characters really effectively. The fall of the DC Extended Universe proves that having the best characters is not always going to be enough. You need to understand what makes them special, and give audiences time to care about them. What do you think James Gunn needs to do to ensure the DCU succeeds where the DCEU failed? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into Hollywood's most fascinating successes and failures. This video is made by movie fans, for movie fans.